Hi out there, fellow exiles. This is ilnino here. In Secrets of the Atlas, I plan on continuing my journey with Shield Crush, take it even further. I've been playing it for some leagues now, and I want to see if I can get some new, interesting take on the build, or if I can push it even further. So this video here I have put together a character here, and I have a PoB here, which is a very shoestring budget, and you can see there's close to 8 million DPS on it, without any jewels aside from Seething Fury, and then the unique Shield Empress Vigilance. So this is very simple putting together. And once I've gone over that, I'll show how I plan to level the tree. And then I'll go into a prepared document here where I'll talk about what different angles you can take the build in. There's like several different paths you can take, which is kind of interesting. But let's start here with the basics. So I have a character here. It's a Slayer, and so you can see I have a decent amount of AoE here, even if I'm in Blood Stance. And if I switch it, I get some more AoE. And if I put on Blood Rage, I'm also a little bit faster. But there are a few details here. So for the Ascendancy, I take Impact here. And when mapping, this is pretty much 50% increased area of effect, because you will just kill more than 10 mobs every 4 seconds. So the area that you just saw, right now I have plus 44. I'll go up to plus 94 whenever I'm mapping, increased area effect whenever I'm mapping. And then there's Overleech and reduced damage taken while leeching. And here's some more damage if killed recently, and more damage against unique enemies. And then Super Call up here, which just, whenever things have less than 20% life, they just die. And then there's some movement speed for the clear. But let's have a look at the gear pieces first. So the gear I have put together up here is what I've been using to test out some fairly juiced tier 16 contents, and the gear down here in the bottom is what I used in solo self-found to get my first 2 void stones and start farming tier 16s. So if we take the solo self-found gear first, Lavianga's Wisdom, it makes you a little bit slower, but increased area effect and increased area damage. Helmet, decent, nothing special. 5-link chest piece. Gloves, these are pretty good. Might be one of the better pieces I've ever gotten in solo self-found. And then there's a shield here, which is just harvest craft and then a bench craft armor onto it. So you can see nothing special here. Decent items, that's all. And this got me through, this was Atlas completion. Then if we look at the gear that I have equipped right now, then there is a fractured rapier here with the crit multi, and then I have crafted an abyssal socket onto it. You can craft, if you go the Impale route for the build, you can just use a Deafening Essence of Dread instead, because then you're guaranteed to get 22 to 25% increased Impale effect instead of the abyssal socket. And then you just need an open suffix to craft something of value there as well. So super easy, you just buy a couple of these and throw them on, and then you can craft a decent weapon. But let's look at the gear. These gear pieces are pretty good, but it's nothing like extraordinarily craft. But these were the things I had lying around. And then I just threw them together to a character in order to test, this is day 3 gear if you're going pretty hard. I have Hemophilia here because I want Bleed Explosion, so whenever I kill a bleeding enemy, they will explode. And if we go in here and check offense here, I have chance to inflict bleeding from offense hits is 60%. I get that from 25% here on the gloves. Then there is the crit wheel here, bleed and crit. So 10, 10, and then you get a lot of crit chance against bleeding enemies. So with these two, that's at 45. And then a single node here gives 15%, that's at 60. If you want a little bit more, you can use a tattoo like this one. Just put it on a strength node like this one. and now you can see I'm up at 65%. So, I mean, it's a tool I wanted to share. And otherwise you can use Impressions as an amulet, and then run Vulnerability as an aura through Blasphemy, and that is another 25% chance to inflict bleeding on hit. So, small tricks there. So yeah, this is the character. Let me go over the gem links here. So I have Precision as an aura, Blood Rage. Then I have Shield Charge linked with melee fist damage support, faster attacks, and lifetime. The reason for this is if I run short of mana when I'm out mapping, I can just Shield Charge 1 and then I will recover mana again, like if you're in a no region map. And it's also like a decent speed. It's not amazing, but it's okay. Then there is the main skill Shield Crush, Fortify support, melee fist, multi-strike, brutality, and polarize. Polarize and melee fist have less damage, less attack speed modifiers. So if I don't have it, you can see I'm a lot faster. But you want the more damage from them anyway. Then I have cast when damage taken level 1, and then a level 7 Molten Shell with life tap. Again, I don't want it to drain my mana, so, and I have it at a low level, because then whenever I don't want to get overwhelmed, so when I start taking a lot of damage, then it pops up and then gets me out of jail that way. Then I have Assassin's Mark linked to Mark on Hit, life tap support again. This is just so it doesn't drain my mana and prevent me from attacking, and then Leap Slam, because occasionally you need that. Purity of Elements, in order to take care of elemental ailments, give me immunity to that. Flesh and Stone is both a defensive layer but also offensive. Blood and Sand, it's a super strong small aura for 10%. And then Precision. Oh, I have Precision twice. I don't know, that's the reason for that. And then some Abyss Jewels here. So yeah, this is pretty Shoestring, what you see up here, especially the first one. And this, mind you, this 5 link here is plenty. You can do your Void Stones on a 4 link with this build, no problem. But let's go into the path of building, because there's a number up here. It's with 2 overlapping waves. That is because I've like, this is for single target. So the configuration, you say it's level 84, Guardian Pinnacle Boss, and nothing else. I have 30 Rage, I am fortified, I am leeching. Have you crit recently? Yeah, I will, because we're at almost 97% crit chance. Number of nearby enemies 1. I have not killed recently. If I do that, then I gain a lot more damage. So this is like for a bossing scenario. Melee distance to enemy. This is that is for, I think it's Impact it's called. And then I have the enemy bleeding. You can see there's a lot of damage here, and that's because of the crit rate. And that is pretty much all. But let's look at the stuff here. So let's look at the masteries, because you can see the other things here as well. So crit multiplier per 10 maximum energy shield on shield. This is very strong because we're using Empress Vigilance, and where is it? Seething Fury here. This is like the base of the build, really. I'll get back to that later, but I have 462 energy shield on this shield here, so that translates into a lot of crit multi. This master here is, I just hate getting nuked with from random crits, so that's that. Then I have the Rage wheel over here, so I gain 3 Rage on hit, so it only takes a couple of seconds before I'm at 30. And then I have nearby enemies are intimidated while you have Rage. So whenever I hit something, I have Intimidate, I have Rage, and then Intimidate. And then Shield Mastery here, so I increased attack damage per 75 armor or evasion rating on shield. It is almost as good as the crit multi down here. And then there is some like gain endurance charges on kill while holding a shield. This one here is increased attack speed per enemy in close range. So if you're in really juiced maps, and say you have maybe like 10, 20 nearby enemies, this is a lot of attack speed and get you out of jail if you're in trouble. And because you're overleeching and almost always on full life, this is a super strong node here. Then there's some movement speed and suppression. The build is suppression capped. Let's see, where is it over here? So you can see I'm at 106%, and the resist they are overcapped. And then because we have this one here, the nodes here, and also this fist down here, hits have a 100% chance to ignore enemy physical damage reduction. So armor does nothing, endurance charges does nothing, because we're pure fizz. Then there's some recover percent life on kill, and some crit and generic damage up here. And you can see the numbers are pretty good. If I remove my flasks, and I don't have killed recently, it's still nearly 6 million damage. So it is very respectable numbers for a build which is basically just Seething Fury and Empress Vigilance. So yeah, but let's take an example here. If I were, this is how I level the build. So I start out, just need damage at first. So I go out here, take all of these attack damage nodes, Master of Arena, and then I go over so I get some more movement speed with Art of the Gladiator. And then I take the Defiance node. Also, I'm leveling with Shield Crush as soon as possible, and if you can either drop or buy a shield, you can actually play it just right from the beginning of the game. Then I usually take these two nodes because you just really want to kill things fast, and then from there I pass down here, and then I take a leech node here, so I start recovering life and mana. Then I take the accuracy wheel here, and I do the 500 accuracy rating, and in order to cap it off, and then I take precise technique because we won't be dealing crits early on in the league. So this is basically 35% more attack damage, because whenever you deal a crit, you have a basic chance of 5%. That is more damage, of course, but this is just super strong. It's more than a link early on in the campaign. Then from there on, you go back here, and then you can take the life wheel, and I usually take cloth and chain because there's so much resistance here, and then you're pretty much good to go. Let's see, I'm at 31 points here. Then you go down here, and then you take this. This is when you are about to face Malachi, and you're just stomping him at the end of Act 4 here. From here on, I'll go out here, and then I'll take the fist notes here. Then you can consider just taking even the mastery, so you ignore physical damage reduction from enemies. And then I go up, and then I take the brinkmanship wheel in order to get some more area of effect. Also, I forgot. So I'm a slayer here, that's right. The order to do this in first lap is absolutely impact, because you get the accuracy rating, which helps with the precise technique, and you have more melee damage to enemies. That is pretty much 15% more all the time because of the proximity and reduced area. Like, you don't have that much area while leveling. Then there's Brutal Fervor, that is the second one for sustain, and then you fill out here and you take Headsman. That is for the basic build. From here on, with the tree here, I will go up, and if I need life, I'll take these nodes. Otherwise, I'll just go straight up to the rage node and take nearby enemies are intimidated while you have rage. And then I'm pretty much done with this part here. And then you can start building it out a little bit further. Usually, when I have the overleech, I will go up here and I'll take the Gladiator's Perseverance. I want up here, and then I just want the movement speed really. And then you can path out here and do stuff, or go over here and take this node. And you're pretty much like, you're done with the campaign, and then you go out on the outside. And then eventually, when you gain access to Empress Vigilance and Seething Fury, see, it is here. When you have this one, then you start going into crit, and then you transform the tree a little bit, because you have crit wheel here, crit here, and then you path up here, to the shadow area where you get a lot more crit, and then you also have recovery on kill. Also, for when you're reskilling the tree, let's see if I go back here. Just take this one over here. I have a jewel here to fix my mana leech. If you don't have one like this, you just take this note here and then you're done, because Slayer gets attack damage, leeches life here, and these small percentages are plenty to keep you going. So this is the base, and if you have this, then you are pretty much good to go. So yeah, this is, you can do pretty solid tier 16 strategies with this. But if you want to scale even further, going into tier 17s, then we have to go and look in here. So I've been mentioning so okay, let's just say take it out here. So we have the skill gems here, the basics of the build. There are 2 variations, Slayer versus Champion, some discussion coming up into the league. Then there are 5 different build variations. Well, it's kind of like 4, but there's an honorable mention as well. I'll be discussing what amulets to use, because that's a big thing, and then also charge stuff, because Relic Impatience has been nerfed, but maybe not nerfed that much anyway. So let's look at the skill gems first. So also I need to check, can I draw? Yes, I can. So Shield Crush, it gets a lot of added flat physical damage per 15 armor or evasion rating on shield. And I have an honorable mention here with Shield Crusher of the Chieftain. I'll get back to that later. It has better numbers, but it's a bit slower than normal Shield Crush. It gets a lot more area of effect from quality, and also just has so much more area effect on the central wave. So this might be good enough to run with, but you don't get the physical scaling. It's a lot harder just to scale flat fire damage than it is to scale physical attack damage. So that's why usually people don't go with the Chieftain, but there might be an option coming into this league. But let's see the basic. I've already mentioned it. You have Emperor's Vigilance with a high armor value, and then Seething Fury here, and that means that instead of having like 5% crit chance, which you have on the gems, you can see critical. Oh, this is annoying. So you have the 5% crit chance here. With Seething Fury and Emperor's Vigilance, you get, so this is plus 10% flat crit. And that makes it a lot easier to scale. So that is one way to go about it. The other one is to stick with Precise Technique and get the 40% more attack damage if accuracy is higher than maximum life, but you will never deal critical strikes. But then you can get a shield like this. Cardinal round shields have amazing potential when it comes to armor and evasion stacking. And if you see this one here, it only has a base percentile of 45%, so meaning you can get this up to 100%, and that gives you a bit more flat armor and evasion rating. And it is not 3 tier 1 nodes here, defensive nodes. It's 2 tier 1s and a tier 3. So if you get this a little bit better, you can get both of these numbers above 1500. Shields like that are going to cost a lot, but having more than 3000 defense numbers, and looking at this, so let's just go with 1500 for example, and then we go to Shield Crush over here. So it's per 15 armor. So let's see, so you just put the 2 zeros behind each of these numbers, and then you multiply them by 2. So it will be 800 to 1200 added physical damage for the armor part, and then you have the same with the evasion rating, so that is another 800 plus 1200. So you're looking at 1600 to 2400 added physical damage from this one here. I mean, that is a very good weapon by itself. Anyway, Slayer versus Champion. It is a discussion I will return to several times in this video, because I've even made a special video just discussing these two. My main take about it is that Slayer is cheap and it is easy. Wow, I can't even spell anymore. I've been thinking too much. It's easy to get going, and you have the AoE clear because this is 50% more, 50% increased, and you have 10% here, so it has 60% compared to just champion. But we have some new toys with the champion, and we have permanent maximum fortify, and then you start with the note here. You start scaling, you get more evasion and more armor based on fortify above 20, and you also get increased attack speed. So champion is expensive. I will explain this in further detail later. It has great potential. It has great like you can really scale it high, but it comes with a cost, and I will not consider going champion before I have these gloves here, the Celestial Brace, which gives you +10 to maximum fortification if you have a perfect roll on them, and then you can get that to +12 if you use a new runic mastery. So before I have that, also you can get 26 45 from the tree, so that gets you to 38 permanent fortify, and then we start talking. But yes, this was just some, like, go and check the other video where I discussed these two things. It's probably better, like, than I'd go through it once again. But let's look at some of their. I have 5 different potential paths where you can take the shield crush build that I just showcased earlier in the video, and you can take each of these. Well, maybe not the chaos conversion so much. It's more speculative. I haven't made it work myself. I've come close, but I'm missing some key parts on it. But maybe one of you out there can break it for me. Anyway, if you just go, one of the main things about using an offhand shield to attack with is that you can use stat sticks. That is why I've shown something like Nebula here, the Princess here, because they gain physical damage as extra cold damage. This doesn't work with Shield Crusher of the Chieftain because you don't deal any physical damage, so stat sticks are a little bit weirder for that. Nebula is 30 to 40% increased attack damage. This one over here, it converts all of your physical damage because you have Unholy Might, so you convert 100% of physical damage to chaos damage, and you get 25% chance to wither and hit. So there's some potential over here, but I'll get back to that later. But about stat sticks, then you can see here, this is a fractured rapier with a like crit multi is fractured, and then I've just put an abyssal socket onto it, and then I've crafted this line down here. You don't care, like these 2 lines here, they don't really exist. This is super easy to attain and craft. Additionally, if you don't want to, if the abyssal socket fossil is a little on the expensive side, then you can just go buy a deafening essence of dread. If you do that, then you just put it on a fractured rapier or sword if you don't want to go crit, and then you have one-handed weapon gets 22 to 25% increased Impale effect. So this is, of course, if you go the Impale route, but then you'll just put it on until you have an open suffix, and then you can again craft something of value there. If you go Impale, then I'm not saying it's mandatory, but it's kind of close to mandatory, because the more impales you can stack onto a target, the more the damage starts scaling. And then I have, this is super end game scaling for a stat stick. If you just go pure hit based, or you go the Impale route, and that is using a Varanastra because it counters all one-handed melee weapon types. And then you steal Weapon Master from Gladiator, which gives you buffs depending on if you have a claw equipped, a mace, axe, sword, or dagger. So dagger is more crit, axe is more damage against enemies on low life. I forget what sword is. Claw is instant leech, and mace is more area of effect. So there's some really good stuff here, but this is expensive down here. Then another way you can go is using Nebulock, and then you use the Fire Mastery to convert. Mastery is 40% conversion, and then you have Avatar Fire. That is 50%, and then the last, then on gloves, you can either get an Eldritch Implicit, or you can craft. You can craft 25% physical converted to 25. Not 25% of fist converted to fire, and then you are past 100%. If you do that, then you get a lot, and you can sustain this 200 fire damage taken per second per endurance charge. If you do that, then you get a lot of armor per endurance charge. You get a decent amount of physical damage per charge, and then you get two really big ones: 4% chaos resistance per endurance charge. Say you have 6, that's easy to get just from the passive tree. That's a good chunk of chaos resistance, but you get a really big one here: reduced elemental damage taken from hits per endurance charge. This is kind of like Fortify here, not for physical of course, but still it amounts to something. And if you get to say like 8, 9, 10 endurance charges, which is absolutely achievable, then Nebulock starts becoming a powerhouse. It's also fairly cheap, so you can fairly cheap and common drop from Elder, so you can get a good corrupted implicit up here. And then there is the really interesting thing from the new league, and that is Enmity's Embrace. It's probably going to be a chase unique. People are speculating a lot about this ring already, but it has damage penetrates fire resistance equal to your overcap fire resistance. So if you have you have a base max of 75% fire res, so if you have like say 100% fire resistance, then you are penetrating 25. So we have 25% cap. So 100% equal 25% pen. If you have 150% fire res, then you get 75% pen, and it just goes up from there. So I mean 75% more damage because of you stacking your resistances. That's pretty good. But it does come with a downside. It will be hard to stack fire resistance because you have reduced fire resistance. This is not like a flat number. So you just, if you have, say 155 reduced fire resist, if you have 155 fire resistance, then you don't just get it reduced to 100. It is like, this is a negative multiplication. So if you have 100 fire resistance on your character, then you only have 45 because you have 55% reduced fire resist. So this is it's a challenge, but there's some gain from it. Then you can also go cold conversion, and this might be one of the simpler and easier way to do it, simply because the princess, you can use it from whoops, see here, let's mute my computer, because you get from level 10 on, this is the best leveling weapon you can hope for. You get 25 to 30% physical damage as extra cold damage. Cold is a very strong defensive mechanic because you chill and sometimes even freeze enemies. And these two lines here, well, they just ignore that there. Then you can also use these gloves here. and then you have 100% physical damage converted to cold damage. If you use these two in conjunction, then you take, then this becomes just 30% more damage, and then you're only dealing cold. And then you can pair it with hatred, and then you gain more physical damage and physical as extra cold, and from there on. I'll get into some detail with this some more later. Here are a couple of weapons you can use. If you don't want to use Hrimsorrow for 100% conversion, then you can craft a rapier like this, where it's important to note here there are two different influences. So this is an awaken craft where you take 20% of physical damage as extra cold damage and physical damage converted to cold damage. These are from two different conquerors, so you need two different weapons and combine them. This is a very simple craft, and then you can do it several times over until you're lucky and get something good like crit multi, and then you can craft the rest. It is a deterministic craft because you take these two notes here and you will always get them, and then on the weapon that you craft, and then the rest you'll have to see where it is, and then you can just annul things away until you can craft something good like this. The other way to go is, you can see these are the similar icons. So this is actually a drop weapon, so you can just search for Fizz as extra cold and then some damage pen and maybe something extra value like dexterity is pretty good and the crit multi is there, and then I just crafted 6% increased cold damage and chance to freeze. So this is like a super potent weapon. And cold conversion is, I'd say like it's fairly cheap and easy. Cheap and easy, and this one over here is expensive. Question mark, because we don't know how this will be, and also you have to do charges. Then there is defense stacking, and there are two routes to do with this. The first one is to stack both armor and evasion rating because of this line here on, well, these two lines here on perseverance. 1% increased attack damage per 200 of the lowest of armor and evasion rating. So you can't just go by, say, 100,000 armor and 500 evasion, because then you'll only get like 2% increased attack damage, because that's only, it takes up per 200. So you need to scale both armor and evasion rating. And this is where, let's see up here, this is where this shield comes into play, because you have a lot of armor and evasion rating, which you use to deal damage with. So there's some pretty good synergy here. And then you have Unstoppable Hero. That is the node here on champion, and this node here, make sure that you always have max fortify, for maximum amount of fortification stacks. So what does this do? 3% more evasion and armor and evasion rating per fortification above 20. Above 20 is the key here. 3% increased attack speed per fortification above 20. So now we get back to the calculation here before. If you have the Celestial Brace and you get it to a perfect roll, and then you use the mastery for plus 12, you're at 38. That is plus 18 above. So what happens here is you have 18 times 3, so that's 54. 54% more armor and evasion. Now we're absolutely talking. So this is scaling pretty well. And then you have the increased attack speed. Again, that is 50% increased attack speed. And then because you also have 1% increased attack speed per fortification, and we have 38, that gives a total of 92 attack speed. This is good, and this is enough that I would consider going into champion, but it is not enough. Like without the gloves, so no gloves, I'm not going here. But when I have the gloves, I will start testing this here. But that is one of the ways you can do it. Another way to scale defense is to use Replica Dreamfeather. And because we're attacking with our shield, then we can use this weapon here, and we don't have to we just want this number here, 1% increased attack damage per 450 armor. So you'll notice this is 200 on perseverance, but it takes both of your defensive layers, armor and evasion. Now if you convert all of your evasion into armor by using iron reflexes, this one here, you can get absurd amounts of defense. Say you just have 1000 evasion, and then you have a lot of increased, let's say you have plus 200% increased. That means you are sitting at 3000 evasion. That was not very nice. 3000. And then you have 50% more. So then you times it by times 1.54. Let's just do it easy. So let's say it's around 4,500. But what you do here is that then you turn this into armor. And then you repeat this equation up here. So instead of starting with 1,000, then you start with 4,500. And then you increase with increased, instead of evasion, you just increase it with armor, and then you have the more multipliers, and then you get into some very high numbers. So I think there absolutely is a build around where you use precise technique and a cardinal round shield, and you go into defense stacking. Then there is the chaos conversion. This is speculatively. It's probably just for occultist. Maybe you can make it work on a trickster, but I just wanted to mention it because it is a cool stat stick where you have unholy might, and you just convert all of your physical damage to chaos. But these are the builds that I will be considering when I league start. So I'm not entirely sure. Then we need to discuss Relicash Impatience, because these boots have been nerfed quite substantially. So instead of having maximum number of endurance, frenzy, and power charges, now it is only or, meaning we have to choose which one we want. And in most cases, probably going to be endurance charges, because the other charges you can build. And there is the belt here, Iron's Anguish, which gives you +1 to maximum endurance charges, and there's a lot of fire resistance on it. And well, that goes pretty well with this one down here, because we need a lot of fire rest for that. And there's also the endurance thing. So this is probably what I'll be trying to go for, because there's some interesting stuff going on here. And I just want my endurance charge to be up all the time because I like playing tanky characters. Additionally, if you want to go the route where you stack, oh, I forgot to mention this about the defense stacking. There is a replica badge of the Brotherhood. Let me just draw a line here, because this one here, they're pretty much locked into each other. Replica badge of the Brotherhood says that your maximum endurance charges is equal to your maximum frenzy charges. So here you need to stack frenzy instead of endurance charges. But what you get is +1 maximum fortification per endurance charge. You can get this to +6 just from the passive tree, and then above that you need to invest into extra frenzy charges through your gear, and that is getting expensive real quick. But say you get like +6. That's okay, but if you start getting into +7, 8, 9, maybe even 10, if you like have an infinite budget, then it becomes outright ridiculous, because then instead of having these numbers here, then instead of +18, you get like +28 or 30 even. You can do stuff like that, and then it just gets out of hand. And also, you bypass through Relicus a chance to lose an endurance charge when you gain fortification, because you never gain fortification. You just always sit at your maximum. So there's something to go for there, but this is late game stuff. But if you want to stack frenzy charges, you can use your Alicia's Delight, and then you just have another way to gain endurance charges. And because you have so much fortification, you probably don't need the endurance charges that badly. So there is, let's see, there's, let's call it potential here with champion. Now, since you only get one of these charges on maximum all the time with Relicus, you need to generate charges all the way. One of the classical ways is to use Feral's Fur, and it says gain up to your maximum number of frenzy and power charges when you gain cat stealth. So you just need to get aspect of the cat somewhere, and also it says aspect of the cat has no reservation. This item doesn't give you aspect of the cat, so you need to craft it on some other gear piece. It's not too difficult. You just need a suffix on any part really, and then you can craft it. Another way to do it is using a Redeemer chest piece. This is an old one I had lying around, which is an Awaken craft, because there's both Redeemer and Hunter influence on it. Redeemer is the key because that is the 10% chance to gain a frenzy charge on hit. Because you're hitting so often, Shield Crush, even on single target, it hits twice every time you attack. That means you have 20% chance to gain a frenzy charge whenever you use one Shield Crush on a single target. Whenever you're hitting several enemies, say there's a pack of 20 monsters around you, and you hit them, I don't know, 1.5 times each, that equals 30 rolls on 10% chance to gain a frenzy charge and hit. So you just stack it up real quick. You can also get an Eldritch Implicit on armor pieces, which gives you like charge per 15 sec, not percent, sec. But the point is, if you lose these charges, you need to go, say you have like 8 or 10 times 15 seconds. That takes so long to build up. And on boss fights, when you go into an arena, then you want to stay AFK in order for your charges to recover. So I dislike that modifier. It is useful, it exists, but I'll be going with these. Then amulets again. I already discussed Replica Badge of the Brotherhood. This is for frenzy stacking. And frenzy stacking is notoriously expensive. Then there is an alternative here. I want to look at that. Let's just do it like this. Replica Dragonfang's Flight is, I would argue, the best Shield Crush amulet that you can get, because +3 to level of Shield Crush gets it to so if you have like a level 21, you get to +3, you get to 24, and that is a break point for Shield Crush. You get more area effect, and you get a huge spike, not a spike, but you get a huge increase in the flat damage that you gain from armor and evasion. And so this is kind of like, this is for champion, the replica badge, and since you're going a different avenue, like Replica Dragonfang's Flight is just so good because of the breaking points and the extra damage that you get. It's so massive. I think it's like 20% more damage at least from this amulet alone, and then you also get you get the reservation efficiency of skills, and you also get what's it called? Like you get some, and you get more AoE. So this is, if I now I keep doing this. So this is the best amulet in my opinion. There is an honorable mention, however, and that is Leadership's Prize, because you have Scorching Conflux, Brittle Conflux, and Sapping Conflux, while 2 of your highest attributes are equal. So you cannot ignite, chill, freeze, or shock. The reason I have mentioned this is because of the fire stacking over here. Ignite is not a very good ailment to inflict unless you really invest into it. But scorching, scorch equal reduce, so you reduce enemy resist. You can get this up to 30%. So whenever you deal, it's also good for the cold conversion up here, because instead of having like 75% cold resistance, now suddenly monsters only have 45%. Then you have brittle equal flat crit. I think it scales up to 4%, if I recall right. So instead of having 10 to 11 flat crit chance, you have 15, and then it's so easy to get crit capped from it. And then the last one is sapping. That is a deep, so less. It's a debuff, making monsters deal less damage. And you also get something to your maximum resist, which can be very beneficial. So, one last note here is that the defense stacking method, probably the armor stacking, benefits mostly by going Shield Crush of the Chieftain. And because there's so much more area of effect on Shield Crush of the Chieftain, that takes the champion, and then you don't suffer as much from having less AoE than the Slayer. So I think Shield Crush of the Chieftain on an armor stacking champion could be really, really good. But we'll have to see. In the other video that I posted earlier, I went into like the price that I expect the Celestial Brace replica badge of the Brotherhood to be in, and it's some pretty substantial numbers. So I'm not going to start it. So what I would advocate is start Slayer, and then when you have built enough wealth, move into champion, and because I think the potential is higher, and you can do all of these builds with champion. Especially like the Impale is just better with champion because they have Master of Metal, which makes Impales even better. Whereas Slayer is, let's say, Slayer is generic, generically good. Champion is a specialist. So that is my take on things. Oops, didn't meant to do that. So this is yeah. This is my thoughts on Shield Crush and how to build it in 3.26. I will be starting a Slayer, as I just indicated before, and I will make some updates on how I progress the build, and I will also give my thoughts of how you can like squeeze as much mileage out of the build as possible. But this has been a long video. Thanks for watching it. I hope it gave you some insights as what you can do with the build, and we'll see you in the league. Bye.